the vision and the behavior. Now a lot of importance is given. If you go to any company, you will find those two boards at the entrance, vision and mission. Like our institution also has got a board, vision and mission. So vision is something where the organization is looking at their future, and that is one question which is asked to all of you at the time of interview, that what is your place, or where do you see yourself from 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line. They do not probably want to know what is your future plans, but they want to know what are your future ambitions. Right? You may achieve that, you may not achieve that, but then whether there is any clarity in what you have decided to do in your life, that they want to change. So you must always be ready with this answer, that where do you see yourself from 5 years down the line, from 10 years down the line. This is one of the commonly asked questions in the interviews. Your other teachers who will be teaching you on that aspect, placement preparedness, they will tell you how to answer these kind of questions. But then answer always remains with you. So vision is something what you look into the future, and accordingly your behavior should go in that direction. If you remember in school days, you must have written a compulsory essay. If I were a prime minister, me Pantapradhan zhalo tar. Have you written this essay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. What will I do? I will put sunmica on all the roads. I will see that when tap is open, milk will come out of the tap. Some such kind of things you will think about being a prime minister. So the question is, did you or any one of you have thought of becoming a prime minister in reality? No. If somebody has thought of it, have you become a corporator at least yet? No, then you can become a prime minister. So those may not be the visions. So vision has to be something which is achievable. Though it is a vision, it should not be a dreamy idea. There is one incident, I forgot the name of the person. He has written one essay during the school time, and the essay was what I want to become, just like that. What I want to become in the life. So somebody wrote, I want to become a fighter pilot, I want to become prime minister, some all such kind of dreamy ideas. One person wrote an essay. He said that I want to have my own stud farm and a racing course. He has written as a child in the school, he wrote that I want to become a racing course owner and I want to have a stud farm. That was the essay which is written. His madam gave him 0 marks. She said, this cannot be the dream. He said, what is wrong, ma'am? This is my dream. She said, you have to change this essay, otherwise I will give you 0 marks. He said, ma'am, you can give me 0 marks, but I am not going to change my dream, because that is my dream. He didn't change. Madam gave him 0 marks. Maybe he might have passed later. After 25 years, this school went to visit some race course and stud farm. And they make that owner to meet the madam. It was the same boy who was written. This is a real story. The same boy who has written that essay that I want to have my own stud farm and a racing course. He was having some 200 horses and he was having a race course of all his own. And he was earning crores of rupees. Point is vision. It was just an essay written in 10th standard. If I were a prime minister, the best essay won 10 marks out of 10, or maybe some medal prize at the annual gathering. But then, have you really become prime minister? Have you started going in that direction? So if you want to achieve your vision, you have to start going in that direction. That is the message there. So you have to have your behavior going in that direction. For that, of course, dynamic actions are required. If you just sit doing nothing, sit idle, nothing is going to happen. You have to take action. Work ethics is related to that. Knowledge management is, there is a separate board in Pune University called as Knowledge Management Board. So there is a separate study, there are different subjects which are studied under this knowledge management, which is per se a very big topic. Leadership will speak about in 15th chapter, stable mind will speak about in 5th and 6th. So that's why these things are slightly lighter in shade. Sexual harassment is one important message which is given by Sankhya, or 2nd chapter. Now, as I told yesterday, that if you see the backside of my book, there is only one sentence written. Do you think that management is contemporary? I read this statement yesterday also. Modern management concept, principle, theories, philosophies were present 5,000 years before. Means management principles which we know, which we are learning today, are not at all modern. Those are not at all invented something now. Analytics is also there in Bhagavad Gita, which will be coming up later. So this is one thing which was available, written in Bhagavad Gita 5,000 years before, and Indian government has come up with the act called as POSH, Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, in 2015. The Act started writing somewhere in 1997, and it took government to draft that Act in 17 years to draft the Act. And now it has become an Act of Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplaces. Because these are very common things happening in the industries, typically in the field where all of you have dreams to work in, that is IT companies. More sexual harassment cases are there in IT companies. The worst part is that those cases are not reported. The girl who is sexually harassed, the woman who is sexually harassed, she doesn't come up to the management and tell this thing because it is likely to defame her in the society, in the workplace, or probably in the entire working fraternity. That is the reason why girls, women who are sexually harassed is a very common thing happening across the world, more in India. To tell you some statistical figures, there are only 15% cases which are reported under sexual harassment, whereas 85% cases are there which are happening and they don't report, and there are more than that, those cases are there, they do not want to speak anything about it. Why that is happening? Because how the sexual harassment can happen. This is typically with the context of male who think that women as a commodity or women as an instrument to use only for the thing called as sex, which is not true. Now women are equalizing with all the men. Yes, very recently we had International Women's Day. On that day you might have heard some speeches, you might have celebrated International Women's Day, but it is the fact remains, which is again coming up mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, that women are more powerful than men. It is proven. In what aspect, that we will see later. So it has been inhibition in the minds of the male that if a girl is talking freely to him or her, him or specifically, then he will think that the girl could be won over at any moment of time. This is the inhibition or a wrong impression in the mind of all males. Very sorry to say. But this is a fact. And 60%, yesterday I talked about it, id is the inner portion of the hidden portion of the mind. 60% of the mind is polluted with all such kind of thoughts. In every male's mind, in every female's mind as well. But then it is not taken advantage of. All men will try to take an advantage specifically by using the way of their power. These cases are more with bosses and subordinates. These cases are more with subordinate as well. These cases are more with lower level people having sexual harassment done to the higher level officers as well. Right? So these cases are many. It is already mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. It says that how these thoughts come. Basically, those are the thoughts which I was mentioning. 60% of the mind comes onto the surface. It says that Dhyato Vishayan Spursa Sangas Teshu Pujayate Sangar Sanjayate Kama Kama Krudo Vijayate Krudat Bhoti Samoha Samoha Smruti Vibrama Smruti Bhavasha Buddhi Nasho Buddhi Nasha Pranashyati. All this, there is a sequence of all these thoughts. When the thought comes to the mind of male typically about any woman, about any girl around, then those thoughts will keep on lingering in his mind. And anyhow, he will always think about getting that girl, getting that woman, anyhow into inverted commas. By hook or crook, he wants that girl, he wants that woman. So these thoughts keep on lingering. It goes worse. If he tries at some places, he is not succeeding, he will get angry. And angry is another state of mind where you cannot control yourself. Once you get angry, your brain will stop functioning, your brain will stop working. You might have seen the incidents on the street, two people are fighting with each other by just meeting with a minor accident. And then they will start fighting verbally initially, and then they become angry. They start talking to each other with high raised voice, and then they start fighting with each other. This brain stops working. And when brain stops working, you will be totally abolished or demolished. Pranashyati means you will be totally devastated. Why? Where it is started from? It is started from the thought which is there in the mind. And then this has supposed to be rectified, and there has to be some solution. The government has come up with solution after 5,000 years, which was mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, in the form of act called as Prevention of Sexual Harassment in 2015. And that is nowadays available in all the companies. They are very strictly following it. They are very minutely observing all such kind of cases. All support is given. Of course, there are a lot of things which we can talk about POSH. You can have a separate session on POSH by some lawyer. Management by exception. In fact, I have yesterday told you how did I selected specialization of HR for me. That is nothing but management by exception. When you are not able to make a choice, that time you usually make a choice that okay, this I cannot do, this I cannot do, this is slightly difficult, this is easy, but then I don't want to do it. So you make one choice. So that's how I did it at that time. Engineering was never my cup of tea, though I passed out from COET. I never wanted to become an engineer. But I did engineering. After engineering, when it comes to selection of specialization, I was confused. Because if I would have taken business analytics, I didn't want to be anything into the technical area. So I didn't go in for that time operations was their specialization. Production management was the specialization. I didn't want to go that because I was not a mechanical engineer. Then business analytics was not there, IT was there. I was not interested in much computer engineering. Marketing, I knew yesterday I told you I was not able to sell anything. I cannot sell myself. I cannot market myself. So because for every marketing person you have to do sales first. Then only you can go into marketing. So remove your idea that marketing you will directly become a territory manager, you will be sitting in an air conditioned cabin. So you have to go, walk door to door, and then only you can reach to that. So marketing, all people, make it your mind that you will have to do sales. Otherwise don't go for marketing specialist. Be ready for sales, be ready to travel, be ready to go by walking from place to place for door to door selling just like a daily salesman. You should be ready with that. So I decided marketing I cannot do, IT production I cannot do, finance was horrible subject for me, management accounting I failed in first attempt, I could clear in second attempt when I was doing my MBA. That was the only subject which I failed. So finance was never an option. So what remains? HR. So I took HR. That is again just to tell you a story how management by exception works. So you decide your choices based on something what you're good at, something you're not good at, and then you decide what you want to do. These are all those shlokas which I mentioned. This is what I mentioned. There's only one shlok in Bhagavad Gita which directly speaks about business. Vyavasayatmika buddhi reke karunanda. Means whenever you are doing any kind of business, you concentrate only on one type of business first, and then you start diversifying. Tata's also started with telco first, Tata locomotive company, manufacturing of bogies which are there for the railways, and then they diversify. So you concentrate, focus on one particular part of the business, and then you can diversify later. But initially, you have to focus, concentrate more on that. This I have spoken. This is where Bhagavad Gita started. Lord Shri Krishna told to Arjuna that don't cry, because it doesn't suit to knowledgeable people. Knowledgeable people don't cry. Crying not the meaning of exactly word of crying means weeping. That is not the meaning. Crying means not very much happy with what they are doing. So business people, knowledgeable people will always find out a solution for if they are coming across any difficulty. Yes, this is some kind of spiritual thing which Lord Chaitanya said to Lord Arjuna that Maya Vaike Niyata Purumeva Nivitta Matra Bhivasa. Means I have killed all those people. That reference will come in 11th chapter later. So you simply be an instrument at this moment. These people are already dead. So this is one poster which I always like, and you want to make yourself falling in this category. There are three kinds of people. This was written in a mug which I purchased from the market. There are three kinds of people who make things happen. Then second kind of people are who watch things happen, and third is who wonder what happened. So you should not be putting yourself into third category. You should always learn to make the things happen. Means start with your businesses, work from somebody else. If not, then you will always be in this category, wonder what happened. You get surprised, so something has gone wrong. These are the two major concepts in second chapter. These are the two photographs which are at the start of in the book. Then I have told you that there will be some cartoons or some pictures, caricatures which I will show you, which will make your concepts clear by looking at that photograph. This is one photograph talking about learning organization. What happens in learning organizations? Looking back, first you have to look what you are doing. We have been struggling with these problems for 5 years and haven't made any progress despite substantial efforts. Now what is happening today? The obvious solutions don't begin to address overwhelming complexities and uncertainties we are facing. So we have got a lot of complexities and uncertainties due to which we are overwhelmed. So we need to focus on that. And what is to be done? Aren't they more powerful tools to overcome these critical threats to our organization? So are we not to find out the solution for all complexities and uncertainties? If we are doing it, then only our organizations are learning. These are all photographs taken from some different sources which have been acknowledged. This is talking about work-life balance. Read it. This is of course in a Western world, not in India. You cannot have new husbands. It's talking about work-life balance. So that's how we can have work-life balance of these two ladies who are discussing with each other. The spirit of Kaizen, I won't read all. It's all speaking about step-by-step improvements. Again, another example of Kaizen. How people take Kaizen also in a negative sense. I won't be teaching Kaizen because you will learn it separately, but then Kaizen has certain 5 S principles, which are 5 words starting with S in a Japanese, those are Japanese words, and every word has got some meaning. So one of the words meaning is talking about having perfection in whatever you're doing. So here everybody is trying to make a comment where the water is flowing. This may be a common thing happening in your house also. But then what is happening? So somebody should do something. Who is responsible for turning off the water? So instead of saying that, I will directly go and close the tap. That should happen according to the Kaizen, but it is not happening here. Knowledge management, how people take knowledge management again in negative sense. Because the moment you start rational, there are many negative things you will have to take care of it. There is a concept called as 6 hat thinking. You can just give a search in Google later. That is again one of the most practiced way of taking the decision at the top level. And that 6 hat thinking has got 3 hats which are in the negative direction. So if I take the decision, what is the outcome of it? How this is going to go in a negative direction? And there you study of rational thinking. Ethics. Have you understood the small joke which is there? Yes. They are writing an essay on how important are ethics in today's society, and everybody is peeping into everybody's answer sheet. Yes, sexual harassment. This is what it happens in industries. And next one doesn't have any sentence, but then looking at a picture you will come to know what exactly do we mean by sexual harassment. It will take time to understand. Have you understood it? Yes. Well, thank you for the day. As I declared yesterday, tomorrow we'll have 3rd unit, and then maybe later I'll combine it in next week. Thank you.